How you doing? So today we're talking about the new patch that's come out. We've got 6 changes. There's some really cool ones. Some favorites of mine, like cards that I've really loved, but have been too weak in my opinion to really play. They've gotten some meaningful buffs, so should be a fun one. And let's get started, guys and girls, and robots and AI, all that good stuff. We have a couple changes for you guys today. Let's get started with the first one. So Lady Deathstrike's getting a 1 power nerf. I think this is pretty fair. It's been in pretty much Annihilus decks, and it's just a lot better with the change, so probably overtuned a little bit. You see it quite a lot. Comparing it was not seen at all. So, I mean, they essentially put +3 power on it, right? And even +1 power is a pretty major change, so not surprising that their stats are quite good. Especially it works like really good with Annihilus, so definitely makes sense to do it to lower it. So I'm not really surprised about this here. They are saying that create space, but the performance indicates they overshot it. It's one of the best cards in the game for the last few weeks. Even the top performance some Annihilus shells. Okay. Given we're seeing Annihilus everywhere, we're adjusting both by taking a power here. I think this is fair. Card's really good. Understand it's 1 point. It's not crazy, but it should be meaningful. Next up, we have DarkHawk. Hey, our friend DarkHawk is still good. It's still broken, apparently. So, I'm not overly surprised about this. Like, when they changed DarkHawk, they buffed its stats, right? So, and a lot of times you play DarkHawk on 5 anyways, right? So that you can either follow up with Mystique or play something else 6. So, it's not like, what changed was, like, you couldn't do double, like, DarkHawk Mystique with Zabu turn 6, right? Like, that's what was gone, but a lot of the other curves were just perfectly fine. So and now you could do other things besides playing a Zabu deck. You can add other good cards, right? It's not like Zabu is the only good 2-drop in the game, so it just opened up more windows to play other things. So it kind of makes sense that DarkHawk is still good. They're reducing a point. Not a crazy change, but understandable given what we know about this card. DarkHawk can continue to soar after moving the 5 cost. It's spent the majority of the time as one of the highest win cards in the game, often the highest. So even with the change, it's still the best card in the game, which is funny. You would think that it would maybe be better in like Thanos metas, but Thanos metas kind of died down a decent amount. Like Thanos is still in the game, obviously, and I still see some, but it's not as much as it used to be. But I would think like during those metas, the highest. Maybe now it's a little bit lower, but still pretty good. We given it a few weeks to see if the meta game would change, but no. Alright. That's fair. I think this makes sense. Not a crazy change, 1 power. I mean, for a 5 cost, it's, you know, if you're having a good DarkHawk game, this is not gonna matter. Next up we have Leech. I don't know if I love this. I don't know if I want Leech back in the meta, but they're changing it down. They're moving it from a 5-3 to a 4-2. So it's going down to a 4-cost card. Move the text of cards with unrevealed abilities in your opponent's hand. Ever since changing the ability, it just doesn't feel the same. I mean, I haven't played it since they changed it, to be fair, so. And I haven't really seen other people play it either, to honestly. So it's just been gone. So maybe they're trying to find a way to use it. But moving it down, it's definitely going to help. Reducing cost is crazy, right? In terms of how much it changes a card. So I could definitely see this seeing some play now. You do counter some things in the game, right? Any on reveal nonsense getting down. So maybe you can see this, especially with Blink, right? Like, this feels like a easy Blink synergy. You play this into Blink, right? Like, that seems like what's gonna happen with this change to me. So Definitely don't know how fun that is, right? So I'm not sure about this change. This one is like, like this card is toxic enough, and they're like, oh, well, let's return to that stature. But yeah, what do I have to say? It's been a while since Leech terrorized the snap ladder good. Shifting it to only affect on reveal solved the frustration, but the 5/3 stats have been too weak. Yeah, you could buff the stats, honestly, instead of reducing the cost, right? You reducing the cost, so it just opens up tons of other things. In particular, Hela's new access to energy meant that 5-cost Leech can't always stop the big resurrection. I think that's the idea behind this change. They want to deal with Hela. So, since Hela can ramp with Corvus, you can just play it earlier, but they're trying to deal with that. I'm just worried about all the new problems you create. But now you can address Hela, Annihilus, Jane Foster, Cannonball. Yeah, these are true. We can't help but root for our favorite Murloc after seeing that brave face. Next one, 97. There's some 97 bias, right? That X-Man in 97 is causing them to reevaluate some cards. But overall, like, I'm not super sold on this. I could see this being frustrating. However, this card has been, like, completely disappeared since the nerf, so maybe it's fine. And it doesn't hit everything. It just hits on reveal. So you can definitely run ongoing decks and not have any issues at all. So there's definitely counterplay. Next up, we have Psylocke. I never understood the nerf. Like, we're nerfing this because of Thanos, and now Thanos got nerfed, and now this is coming back. I mean, yeah, it's simple, right? You're nerfing this because of Thanos. Apparently, it had really good stats in the Thanos decks. So more surprising than I thought, because when you look at tournament play, like, the Psylocke versions didn't do that well when it came to tournaments, but when it came to ladder, it was definitely doing a lot better than in tournaments. Seemed weird, but obviously they're not looking at tournament data, right? Like, third-party tournament data, they're not looking at that really. They're looking at, like, what is the general audience doing, and apparently it was doing well. So now that Thanos is nerfed, they're reverting it. That seems to be the case, right? Yeah, okay. And there's also more adjustments. I do think the 2-1 version of the Rock is awkward. It just feels weird that you can't play that stone. Though it is the best stone, right? But it does feel weird. I do agree. But yeah, reverting Psylocke, not a big change. Don't know if this is really going to... Like, this card and Zabu are very close to being the same card right now, right? Like, you play Zabu on 2, you play Psylocke on 2, it does kind of the same thing. It does, like, increase the consistency of having a 4-drop on 3 if you run both of them. But it is interesting. I guess I'm okay with this. Opens up some lines for other, like, 4-cost-centric decks. Next up, we have Sauron moving to, like, returning to its old power. It used to be a 3/3, then they changed it to a 3/3, then they changed it back to a 3/3. I don't know if this matters. I see a lot of Shuri decks not running Sauron anymore. There's other things to do. So, I don't know. It just feels like Sauron has fallen out of favor. There's better cards to play. There's still some synergy, stuff like Ebony Maw and stuff. It's still pretty good, but doesn't really feel like the craziest card to add in the game right now. But sure. Definitely okay with the extra power here. We can sort of touch during an era-specific overperformance. Given the era pass, return that power now. It feels like if you're doing too good, we're gonna smack you across the head a little bit, and then we'll give it back to you after your week again. I mean, this is something you can only do in these digital card games, right? You can't do that for, like, Magic. You're like, this card's a little too strong. Let me just nerf her power off. I can't really do that. But yeah, definitely makes sense. I don't know if Sauron's going to see play from this, though, but it helps. Every little bit helps. Next up, we do have Klaw. This is definitely one of my favorite changes here, right? So Klaw is going from +6 to the right location to +8. That's like that's a lot. That's a lot of power. Like it's now a 512 base with tech, right? So that seems actually playable. Claw's been one of my favorite cards ever since we started, but it's been hard to play because it felt weak. You didn't always win by playing this card, and you could lose that right location. It wasn't like a sure thing. There was a lot of power in a lot of lanes that you could fight for, so you really have to be careful. But now you have 8 power, like that is notable. That is actually might be like a real difference maker. So you can definitely see this doing a lot more being played, especially with Onslaught, right? That's 16 power on the right location. Like now we're talking. Like this is actually pretty good. Like you might actually see people playing Claw just randomly, like just as a random tool, and I would love to see that. So definitely happy with this change. I've been a Claw fan, and it's felt weak even though I've wanted to play it. So thumbs up here. Definitely some bias going on, but really do like this change. Really think it helps us see play. It's been exciting to see ongoing base decks claiming their due at the upper ranks over the last week. Yeah, we've been seeing more ongoing Spectrum stuff, but I don't know like how long that's actually gonna last, but we'll see, right? One card is continue to suffer, so they're saying like even in the ongoing decks, this card still doesn't see as much play as you would think, considering that ongoing has ongoing has a resurgence. That is good to note, right? And probably like a pretty clear indicator that this card is not strong enough to compete in the metagame right now. Because Claw is fairly restrictive, right? You can't really play in the right lane. You have to play in the left 2 lanes, which does matter. And it has an interesting gameplay. We're adding power to ongoing effect to further emphasize those elements. Yeah, I think that's cool. I'm happy with this change. Like I'm not like no problems. Thumbs up here for me. And then the last one we do have, I believe, is also one of the most interesting. We've got Ultron, my boy Ultron. I remember talking with chat, trying to figure out how do we fix this card, because I have this really nice split of this card, and I can barely ever use it. And even when I do use it, it's the worst card in my deck. There's way other ways to win. They're actually doing like a pretty big buff here. They're going from 4 1 power to 4 2 power drones. So you're summoning 2 power drones. So literally doubling the value of the drones. Well, not doubling. Sometimes you're playing with Patron and Onslaught and stuff like that. But still, that's massive. That is a very meaningful change here to this card. Maybe I might make some Ultron decks now, try it out, see how it goes. So this is definitely cool. I like this personally. So we'll see how much value this can really put on. Essentially, you're getting 888 if on the empty lane you play 8 Ultron's 8 power, and you get 8 power and 8 power. So quite good now. It's just that locations do matter, filling your lanes do matter, but this is a pretty useful adjustment, honestly, to Ultron. Like I might actually see this actually do some work. So there is like the back of my head where it's like this is too good. This is too good. But I'm gonna ignore that here. Definitely gonna try it though. So at least it's good enough to be interesting. So that's definitely something that's worth thinking about. So yeah, definitely like this. So metagame threat in the early days, Ultron's gotten weaker. Yeah, that's true. Increase your frequent filling location. More efficiently concentrating power, yes. The drones already have predators in the metagame thanks to Killmonger, Lady Deathstrike, sure. Ultron himself is quite vulnerable to Cannonball. That is true. That is actually quite true, right? If you play Ultron, Cannonball just destroys you. As long as they're playing Cannonball in the right lane. That is true. That is a good point. There's a lot of power to add to Ultron. Yes, it is. So we might need to come back and take a... They're aware. They're aware that this is like, quite strong. We decided not to do it so preemptively in case it wasn't necessary, sure. You'd rather see Ultron make a splash once more than continue to flounder. Yeah, I agree this is a lot of power to put to Ultron, so... we'll have to see, right? What matters? Oh man, they're gonna nerf my boy Ultron. I can already see it. But yeah, sure. I'm excited to try this one out. I think this is definitely the most interesting change, and overall, like good changes. There's a I would say overall, like definitely better than last OTA or last batch where there's nothing. But still, pretty good. So happy with this one. Very happy with these two. Sauron, sure. Psylocke, sure. Leech is the only one where I'm a little bit worried about. I guess Ultron as well, if I'm being honest. But I Leech is the one I like. I don't want to be worried about because Leech into Blink is really pretty good in my opinion. Right? You stop the Ultron. Right? You stop. Yeah, I could see people doing this. Okay, yeah, but that's the one that jumps out to me being like a little bit scary, but the rest of them are kind of okay, for sure. So overall, like a pretty good patch. A lot of interesting things to talk about. I've been a little bit lazy with the videos here. Sorry about that. I've been distracted. I've had like some tournaments to participate in and some extra little things to go over, but yeah, we'll see. Thanks for joining us here today. What are your thoughts on your patch? Let me know. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.
Educated Collins snap. Once you watch him, you won't go back. He'll teach you tomorrow snap. Your skills will be